Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Joshua Karlovich, Technology Portfolio Manager for Ricoh USA, and I'm joined today with a man that I've worked with for the past 5 years by the name of Michael Gale. He's a Senior Sales Director for one of our most trusted partners. Today's session is about what we've been hearing from customers a lot lately, that people are going back into the office, but business still isn't back to normal. So how do you keep things moving forward efficiently and business running smoothly? That's what we want to talk about today. I'll start by pointing out the obvious, that the work environment has changed. Change has come upon us and will continue to do so. There's been such a rapid shift to virtual work, and it's proven that employees can still be productive from anywhere. And most businesses are planning to continue offering remote work options moving forward. But what does that mean for how people work and how things get done? You need to make sure that employees can still access and use information from anywhere. That means businesses that are still relying on paper will be struggling the most to adapt to the new world of work, which is why 3/4 of businesses agree that digital transformation and process automation are the answer. We recently surveyed our customers to better understand their needs, and what we found was that even though the way we work has changed, their top priorities remain the same. Business still needs to move forward, and in order to do that, you need to be able to protect your data and manage your workforce and processes and connect people and information. The problem is that we are now in a new world of work that requires businesses to be flexible, agile, and efficient. We're all adapting together, though, which makes this a great opportunity to look at your business processes and identify improvements that will help your people work better and faster from anywhere. So with that being said, I'm going to help you out by starting you off with a key piece of information, and this is one thing that is absolutely essential if you're going to build the proper foundation for digital transformation. And that is the understanding that paper is holding you back. If you've had employees working from home, you know how difficult it is to keep businesses running as usual. The fact is, the new world of work is digital, and you can't afford to be stuck with outdated paper-based or manual processes. Information and automation is a key to making sure your businesses are moving forward in a way that will set you up for future growth. And we understand that automation looks different for every business. And if you haven't, there are likely reasons why you haven't made the switch already. Or maybe you've taken a half step into automation but haven't made the commitment to go further because of an insecurity. Our customers usually state that resources are one of their top concerns. And that's why we've done the research for you. We work with best-in-class providers, and we help find and deploy the right solutions for your unique situation. This is why Ricoh has been a trusted DocuWare partner for over 12 years. Now with DocuWare, we can help your businesses work smarter and faster and better by making critical business information like employee records or expense reports and invoices very easily accessible and usable, whether your employees are working in the office or at home or a combination of both. Pre-built and custom workflows, they all reduce error-prone manual steps. They speed up common processes, making it easy to deploy, whether you want to jump all in or just focus on a few key areas to start. So I'm going to be passing control to Michael, and he can get into a particular use case based on what I've just described to give you an idea as to what is possible.
Well, hello everybody, and again, thanks for having me on today. This is Michael Gale, Senior Sales Director from DocuWare. And Josh started off with a piece of advice that paper is holding you back. And what I'm going to talk to you about is breaking free from that paper and data entry so that you can automatically process all of your organization's incoming invoices. And we're going to show you that through DocuWare's pre-configured solution today for invoice processing. And we're going to show you this through kind of a 3-step process. We're going to show you how we can capture documents, put them in a secure repository, and we can provide an automated workflow so you can go out and get these invoices approved. And we're going to show you a couple different ways that we can capture documents, whether they're coming in through the snail mail, through the USPS mail, or whether they're coming in through email. We're going to show you how we can use DocuWare's intelligent indexing to automatically consume that information and pull that data off the page. Then we're going to store that document in a secure archive so that we can make sure that we're providing that document for any user on the right device at any time. And lastly, we're going to provide an automated workflow so that those invoices can be routed around for approval, whether that's by department, by cost center, by requester, so that you can keep your business processes running smoothly. And we're going to do this through a comprehensive best practice best practice solution. So we're going to capture the document, we're going to validate and route it, we're going to then provide the approval, and then process and post this to your accounting or ERP system. And just so you know, even if you're a smaller organization and you don't have all of these approval steps, you can just start very simply and just digitize the paper, and then you can start to use those more sophisticated workflows when your organizations are ready. So some of the challenges that we see today are manual data entry, clerical errors, and wasted time. We solve that with DocuWare by using DocuWare's automatic intelligent index system and data export. That way your users aren't having to hand key all of this information off of a page, sometimes into multiple systems. We help you solve the complex coordination, delays, and confusing processes that you have with routing those invoices around for approval, or even moving that paper from one location to another. And we have smart adaptable workflows that will literally route those invoices for you automatically. In addition, you have security gaps and painful auditing, document loss as challenges that you experience. And with DocuWare, you're going to be able to find all of those documents. Audits will become a breeze, because when you're ready to have an audit, instead of going through and, hey, I've got to go get every single one of these invoices that they've told me there's 70 different invoices, I'm going to go through all these boxes in the back office. With a single click of a button, you could export 2019's invoices, and you could give those to an auditor and tell them to have a wonderful day. Right? That's the kind of simplicity and ease that you get with DocuWare. Now, with the solution that we're going to show you today, we're going to show you how we can easily move documents, let's say from an application like Microsoft Outlook, or really any other email application, like if you use Google or Yahoo or Gmail. I tried to put Google and Yahoo there together for you today. Also, your invoices are going to be coming through in paper-based format, right? So those are going to need to be scanned in and moved into DocuWare so that those can be processed. We're going to also extract details from this invoice, again, using that intelligent indexing service, so we can reduce that hand keying and error-prone typing from employees. We're going to route those invoices for approval. Again, it could be based on the amount, it could be based on a vendor name, or it could be based on multiple levels, like where the cost center it is being approved in or where it came from. Then we're going to show you how we can generate those records for your ERP system or accounting system, so that you can eliminate that double data entry and really reduce those errors, as we've said. In addition, we're going to eliminate the searching for documents, because you're going to see how with DocuWare, we can instantaneously go in and find exactly what we're looking for. And if maybe we're looking at an invoice and we need to see the other documents that relate to that particular invoice, with a click of a button, we can go through and find that. And you're going to see through an application, we're going to show you with QuickBooks today how with a touch of a button, if I need to see a document relating to a transaction, I can click one button and I can find that. So at this point, we're actually going to take you into DocuWare, and we're going to start to show you around the application. So this is DocuWare. On the right-hand side of our screen, this is called our document viewer. On the left-hand side of our screen, this is called our navigation interface. I'm going to take you through a little bit of the application. That way you have a brief understanding before we start to come in here and process some invoices. So over here on the right-hand side in our document viewer, we have what we call the toolbar. And in this toolbar, I can easily print, email, download a copy of this document if I need to work on it. If I need to make an annotation, like make a text, write some text on top of a document, make a redaction, maybe highlight some information, draw on the document, you'll notice that this toolbar gives me the ability to do all the things that I would sit there and do as if the document were sitting in front of me on the desk. This enables me to literally work from anywhere. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you over here on the navigation side how we can start to process the documents. So to get documents in, we're going to bring them into what we call a document tray. Probably on your desk, you have a wire basket where somebody drops off a document for you to look at. That's exactly what this is. This is just your incoming place where documents come in, but in an electronic format, as opposed to somebody dropping off a document on your desk. And we can set these up for individual users, like you notice Peggy Jenkins has her own document tray, but we could also set these up as group document trays. Like, for example, here's one where all of my incoming invoices are flowing in, so anybody in my accounts payable department could get in to start to store these invoices. Now, what I want you to take away from this is the temporary holding spot. This is literally the stuff that's laying out on your desk, right? It's just your virtual desk. Now, we're going to go over and we're going to go into what we call a filing cabinet. And so if you look inside of this filing cabinet, this is specifically the accounting filing cabinet, and you notice that I have index fields over here on the left-hand side that are very relevant to the accounting filing cabinet. These index fields are going to be set up for your organization or set up for whatever type of process that you want to use DocuWare for. So the index fields would be relevant, again, to the filing cabinet. So in this case, if I wanted to go through and maybe find a document, all I would have to do is start to type in the company name. It's going to look ahead in the database for me, and it's going to see if it found any entries. And so it does. So it finds that I started to type in LE, so it finds Leisure Park Mosier. Now, if I wanted to further define my results here, that way, if I only wanted to be shown a subset of documents, maybe I'm just looking for the letters that I've sent to this particular organization, right? I could put both of those search criteria in, click on search, right? And it'll show me just the letters that I've sent to this organization. By the way, since we've just for the first time opened up a document in the viewer, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to show you the toolbar real quick. This is where if I needed to highlight a piece of information on the document, I can do that. Having a rough day, make yourself feel better? Highlight in pink if you want to. Make yourself smile. We can write some text on a document. We can draw a line on a document, right? Again, the idea is the way that you would do things on your desk today, you can still do them once it's electronic. If you need to make a redaction, right, that might have been so cumbersome in the past, right? You might have even remembered back in the day, we used to probably cut out a little piece of white paper and use a piece of tape. Well, watch this. All I have to do is pick the same color as the background of the image, and it easily allows me to do a redaction. Those are the types of tools that, again, will allow you to work on your documents from anywhere and not strap you to your desk in the office, right? Because you're working in a computer application. As long as you have an active internet connection and a browser, you can access those documents. So now, next to our filing cabinets, we're actually going to go over into what we call lists. And lists are actually just a dynamic search into our filing cabinet at any one time. So lists give me the ability to set up a search so that I can see documents in a very quick view. So for example here, we might use this for something like contract management. So you notice that all of my contracts that have a status of active are now showing up within this list. So for example, if let's say one of these documents were about to expire, maybe later on this year, maybe in November of 2020, right? The document's now going to populate itself into an additional list showing us that this document is within a 6-month window of expiration. So if I come up here and click on my list, notice that that document now automatically populates within this 6-month notice. This way I could send an email notification and even bring attention to a particular employee to come in and take a look at this. By the way, in accounting, we love seeing companies set this up for their certificates of insurance, right? You've got all those service vendors that you have to go out and pay. This is a great way to track whether or not you've got an insurance certificate on file that is current. And we could automatically notify that company if it's not current, right? So those are some of the easy things that you can set up within DocuWare. Now, next to our lists, we have what we call tasks. And if I click on tasks, if I click on my tasks, these are going to be the things that are assigned to me. But if I click on monitor tasks, these are going to actually show me the tasks that are assigned to other employees, right, or other people throughout the workflow. So it's a really nice place, like if I'm an accounts payable administrator, where I can come in here and I can literally see where all of the invoices are flowing around. We're going to actually show you some tasks today, so I'm not going to spend much more time in here. But we're actually going to get over now into folder structures, and folder structures is really cool because what folder structures does is it allows us to create, like we're back here where I would go in and maybe search for a document. And right, I grew up with Google. I have no problem typing in the information that I'm looking for. And my brain is trained to be able to do this. But you know what? A lot of folks are very used to folder structures. So this would be difficult for them to really come in and just type out the search criteria because the way they would find these documents is exactly like this. And so what we do is we can take these index fields that you see on the left-hand side, and we can make this a parent-child folder structure. So when I come over here and I click on company name, right, I can now click on Leisure Park Mosier, then the project number, then the letter out, and there's the exact same 3 documents as if I were to come over here and search for them using a search dialog, right? This is just recreating that same folder structure that we're used to on the desktop of our computer. And if I come all the way down to my PC and I open up my Windows Explorer folder structure on my computer, notice that when I go into my drives, I'm going to have a DocuWare drive that's going to allow me to drill down into that exact same folder structure for company Leisure Park Mosier. And that allows me to really work with the documents, whether I want to just sit here on my desktop and just open up a folder structure, or if I need to go into the browser and maybe do a little bit more advanced processing within DocuWare. But either way, we give employees both options so that we can enable them to work really from anywhere, but work the way that they want to. All right, so we're going to go all the way back to a document tray, right? And we're going to talk about really just specifically the way that we would process invoices, right? And we would typically get those one of two ways. We would either get those through the mail or we would get those through email. And we're going to show you both of those ways to get documents into DocuWare today. But just so you know, there is a lot of other ways that we can get documents into our document tray. We can import by browsing out on our computer. We can monitor an FTP folder. We can drag and drop these in. We could use our smartphone. We have the ability to upload directly from our smartphone into DocuWare. So the idea here is all the different ways that you're going to have documents flowing into your organization, there's a way to bring those into DocuWare and even make it more automatic than the way that you do it today. So the first way is if we just simply wanted to scan some invoices in, you notice I can just click this little scan button. It brings me right open to this desktop application called the DocuWare Desktop Apps. And here I could click on the scan button, and if I had some documents sitting in my USB scanner, right, they would show right up in this document tray. I've already done that, so I've already clicked on the scan button just to kind of speed it up for the demo today. So I've already scanned a couple documents in. You can notice that once the documents got in here, my service called Intelligent Indexing has already taken a peek at these documents. Notice that 3 of these documents are green, right, letting me know that, hey, we're pretty confident you can store these documents, but one of them in here is red, so we'll have to come find out why that one document was red here in just a minute, right? So that's pretty easy to just scan in the information that I received from the U.S. mail. But we also need to be able to make it very easy to get in the electronic communications that we get, specifically invoices that come in via email. So now we actually have a set of applications that are embedded inside of Microsoft Outlook. So if you notice, we have both a store and a search button right here in the Home tab of Microsoft Outlook. In addition, DocuWare has its own tab where you can see store and search buttons within the application. If I was to right-click on the email, I would also see those same 3 buttons. Again, the idea here is based on how the way you like to use Microsoft Outlook, we've put the button several different places to make it easy for you to work. Now, if I just wanted to simply take this invoice and have it join these other 4 invoices in this document tray, I could click on this one button, Store Invoices to Tray. It's going to give me immediate notification by putting a category right on this email, plus it's going to give me notification in the bottom right-hand corner that it has moved right over into DocuWare. And now that same intelligent indexing service that looks at my invoices, right, has just read that phone bill and has come back green. But you know, we probably are going to receive a lot more invoices than just one via email. And plus, when we have vendors that start to send them via email, we're going to probably get more of our larger vendors that are going to send us quite a bit of invoices. Well, this is where we can start to get some automation from our email application. Yes, I said that, automation from your email application. Because now we could create a folder inside of our Outlook and we could call this invoices, right? And now with this invoices folder, we could actually watch this with DocuWare. Okay, so as soon as a document or an email flows into this folder, it's going to take a predetermined path directly into DocuWare. So now what I can do is I can use the rules that are within Microsoft Outlook and just literally say, well, hey, every time I get an email from invoices@phonewizard.com, it's an invoice. That's why it's coming from that invoices address. We have a lot of vendors that send them from this. So all I have to do is just click always move messages from invoices@phonewizard.com to my invoices folder. Guess how many more invoices I'm going to have to look at from that particular company? You got it, 0. Because as soon as that email comes in, Microsoft is going to watch that address, and it's going to move that directly over to that invoices folder. And now where I used to have to take 3 or 4 steps to print out that invoice and probably process that into my accounting software, it's just going to be sitting right inside of this document tray so that I can store it right in DocuWare, and then you're going to see the power of DocuWare take over after that. So let's go in here and let's store an invoice, all right? I'm going to show you how intelligent indexing works. So we're going to click on our store button here, and you're going to notice that as soon as I do that, right, I get all of these index fields that just populated right over here on the left-hand side for me. And that's because these are my demo documents. I'm using this US Steel invoice all the time. My system knows it very well. So if you notice, DocuWare says in green all of these different fields that I would need to capture off the document. And I don't actually have a due date on here. I just have a net terms. So it's going to calculate this field for me automatically. So now literally all I have to do is just click on Store, and that's going to move the document into DocuWare. But let's go back. Let's take a look at this little invoice that's red right here, right? We talked about that one earlier and said we're going to have to figure out what's going on. And the reason all these fields come up red is probably because DocuWare's never looked at this invoice before from this particular vendor. Let me show you how hard this is to train. And I'm being a little facetious there because it's extremely easy. Literally, all I have to do is go click on the company name, hover over Rapid Transport, and it's going to pull the information right over into that field for me. Notice as soon as I click on the document number field, that's the invoice number, the software highlights it for me in yellow right on the document. So it's asking now, hey, where's the order number? All right, it's right here. All I have to do is just click on the number, and it pulls it over into the left-hand side, right? But what's happening here, you guys, is I'm literally training it. So the net amount, $483.54. Listen, we don't pay late fees in DocuWare. So I'm just going to click this total amount again because we would definitely always pay our invoices on time. But literally what's happening when I go through and click on these different fields is I am training the system. Because now the next time that it looks at an invoice from Rapid Transport, right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab one off of my desktop. And the next time that it looks at this invoice, what's actually going to happen is all those fields that I had to go on there and I had to actually type in, I don't actually have to do that because I can do all of this or allow intelligent indexing to do all of this for me automatically. So you're going to notice as soon as intelligent indexing gets done here, and it's going to run this little gray bar, right? By the way, every time we run intelligent indexing, it's going to get faster and faster and faster as it learns the document. And there you go. So notice immediately, right, all of the fields are pulled off the document. And as soon as I go in and I click on Store, right, all of those fields are going to be populated. So now I don't have to go and click on the company name or the order number or any of the net amounts. It's pulled all that information for me automatically. So the next time that DocuWare looks at this, it's going to pull the information off automatically again. And now for this vendor for Rapid Transport, right, it's going to become very quick to start to process these invoices. All right, for those of you that are OCD, I apologize. That little red 3 up there has probably been bugging you to death, so I'll go click on it. And now it turned to yellow. I know. We use the exact same thing, just like on your iPhone. When you get a new notification, it's going to pop up in that little bubble. That's exactly what we do in DocuWare. That way you know, hey, you have a new task or you have a new list to go up there and look at. And so now as soon as we've, let's say, stored these invoices in my company, Peters Engineering, right, which is the fictitious company that I'm showing you guys from today, I'm actually going to GL code these invoices out, and then they're going to route around for approval so that eventually I can push this data into my accounting and ERP system, right? And so the way I would do that, let's say I have this US Steel invoice and I want to actually break this out into different line items. By the way, I should mention, in an accounting department, a lot of times you're going to use 2 different monitors. And that way I can have this document viewer right here go over onto its own monitor, and I can have the navigation completely by itself. That way I have a ton of real estate to work with if I want to come down and do a process similar to this, where I'm going to do some geocoding on the documents. But the nice thing about this is when we start to fill out these cost centers and these GL codes, we could actually route this invoice around for approval based on this information here. And so because I've selected the cost center of manufacturing, right, as soon as I click on confirm, it's actually going to take that invoice out of my list, and it's going to route it over to a gentleman named Brian Ford. And that's because Brian Ford is our director of manufacturing. So he's going to get a notification to actually go in and approve that invoice. But first, while we're waiting on that invoice to show up for him, I want to show you something. That Rapid Transport invoice that we sent out, notice that, even though it was a new vendor and we just learned it, the activity says pay invoice. Well, and there's a reason for that. And that's because in the background, DocuWare actually matched this to a purchase order. And so when I go and I actually click on the related order documents here for this invoice for Rapid Transport, notice it's going to show me the invoice that I stored twice because it contains that same order number, but it's also going to show me the purchase order. And because the purchase order is in the amount of $483.54, And when we got the invoice, right, it came in for that same amount, excuse me, of $483.54. DocuWare said, well, we don't need to actually go out and approve this. This thing's ready to be paid. We have a purchase order on file. So now all I have to do is just click confirm, and I'm going to book that transaction out to my accounting and ERP system, right? And so, by the way, DocuWare works with over 500 different applications, so we can work with you whether you're using a QuickBooks system or you're using a very intuitive SAP system. We can work with you to get the data into that application. So here, I'm going to go click on Monitor Tasks. Remember, as an administrator, I can see where all of these different invoices are flowing. And as soon as I click on Monitor Tasks here, right, I can now see this invoice that's assigned to Brian Ford. Right? Notice I have a received on date, a reminder date, a due date. Guys, that's because the computer software now becomes your policing mechanism, right? Your employees now can go on their mobile phone, they can go on their computer, and now they can approve these invoices anywhere they're at, not necessarily having to be tied to their desk or tied to the paper in the office, right? This enables them to literally work remotely. So now that we've shown you how we can process these invoices in DocuWare, we're actually going to flip over to the accounting software so that you can see how we start to interact with different ERP and accounting applications. And so today, I'm actually going to show you QuickBooks, right? A lot of companies on the line, smaller organizations especially, probably use QuickBooks. Even some larger organizations use QuickBooks, right? It's a great application for accounting. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take a look at my bills, right? Because once you start to push this data into your accounting application, what happens, right? Today I get up from my desk. If I wanted to see this invoice for this particular vendor, Imaging Systems, right? I notice I've got an invoice in here. I have to get up from my desk and walk over to the filing cabinet, or I have to go over to somebody's office in accounting and dig through a drawer to be able to find this invoice. Well, let me show you how simple this is with DocuWare, because those of you that use QuickBooks will know that little Get Invoice button is not part of QuickBooks, right? When I come down here and I exit the desktop applications, that button completely disappears. But when I come back over here and I re-enable those desktop applications, you're going to notice that as soon as DocuWare sees that screen in QuickBooks, it's going to apply that button in the white space of the application. And as soon as it does that, I can click on that button. It's going to go right out to DocuWare, and it's going to say, hey, Michael wants to see the invoice for Imaging Systems. And it's going to bring it directly through the browser and right there. Yeah, I'm not going to get the steps that I used to get getting up and going to the filing cabinet, but I'm going to be a whole lot more efficient because I'm not going to be spending minutes behind my desk or not behind my desk just going and looking for one document, right? It's literally brought to my fingertips. And now that I'm even saying that, it means that you can work from anywhere, right? Because you're not tied to the office anymore. That's one of the hardest things for accounting and HR departments is that they're tied to their paper. They have to be able to go into the office to work with that paper. Even now during this pandemic, it's even more important to enable these folks to work wherever they are. So we're going to show you, we're ready to pay this invoice. So we're going to show you one final step here. So we're going to go back home in QuickBooks, and we're going to go pay some bills. So we're going to go select that Imaging Systems bill to be paid. And you're going to see how when we select this bill to be paid, we can actually use an import process with DocuWare, or we can use DocuWare's printer function, and we can actually print or import this check directly into DocuWare. And so what you're going to notice, right, is I could print this out. It's going to go right out to my check printer. But at the same time, I'm going to send a copy of this this check over to DocuWare. And by the way, it's going to marry itself up automatically with the invoice in DocuWare. So as soon as I go over into DocuWare, watch this. We're going to go in, and it was Imaging Systems, right? So we're going to go and we're going to search for that particular vendor. So we can go into DocuWare, and we're just going to search for Company Imaging Systems. There's no letters out that I've sent that company. By the way, that's active filtering turned on for you. So Imaging Systems, and we're going to click on Search, and we're going to be able to find that invoice, right? And as soon as we come in and find that invoice, we're going to be able to come over here and we're going to click on the related document, because what we're doing when we put that check into DocuWare, when I click on Paid by Check, right, now it's all of a sudden going to take me to a link where I can see the invoice and I can see the check in one easy view. That way, you don't have any more paper filing to do in the office. Everything can be done electronically. again, enabling you guys to work from anywhere. So I really appreciate you guys taking a look at DocuWare today. I'm going to pass this back over to Joshua so he can sum things up for us.
Thank you, Michael. To wrap it up, the way we work has changed, and paper-based processes can be very difficult. But Michael just showed us firsthand how you can streamline and accelerate an invoice process using automation. But I want you to keep in mind that these same features and principles can be applied to any of your critical business processes. It does not have to be centered around an invoice. Ricoh can help you tailor your workflows to support a hybrid work environment and ensure your business continues moving forward even as guidelines and protocols evolve. So now is a great time to get into some Q&A, and we've had some great questions submitted we want to answer in just a moment, but if you have had a question that you haven't yet submitted, please do so now. So let me just take a minute here to organize the questions. And the first one that I will put in there, and this is kind of a conglomeration of several people's different questions. I'm going to use this as a representative sample because it will answer several at once. The question is, does this application interface with existing applications? And they are listing some of their line of business applications for account payable software, and will it have an interface and be able to image enable that application? And the answer is simply that integration comes in several different forms. I mean, one of the easiest methods is what you just saw Michael do in the way of image enabling a line of business application. So you go into that application, you see that button that was brought up on the screen. It brings back the documents that you're looking for in real time. We can also send out data on a scheduled basis, and the big question then becomes, how does your line of business application ingest data? But in addition, we can utilize APIs to provide a seamless integration betwixt different applications. So that's really good. It's a good question. We have another question here about various levels of training, so administrative training, user training. Training is offered generally in two specific audiences. One is administrative in nature. The other one is for end users. So there are set classes for basic admin training as well as advanced. Both are, I believe, 2-day courses, and that dives into the appropriate components on how to continue forth with your install and even build out on your own. But we have to go, I guess from an end user perspective, often we may be doing appropriate training per group, really. So I want to give you a for instance here. If you have a group of people that only come in to approve or reject items in the queue, they may have limited interaction with the system, right? They only need 30 minutes of training maybe, as opposed to a power user that might go in and really take advantage of what the full solution may offer. They may need more training. So it really is up to the individual customer's needs or requirements. The next set of questions seems like it's about installation or configuration. Based on the complexity of your project and the availability of your resources, it could be just a couple days or span over time. So we focus on the success of the project. So we develop a unique scope of work for every one of our engagements. And with this type of solution, we are aligning that to each customer's needs per time that we're doing it. Here is a question. It says that I'm in procurement, and we're the keepers of the certificates of insurance and the W-9s. And we enter the W-9s that are sent to us, and we have binders of W-9s. Yes, we certainly deal with all kinds of various documentation involved in all kinds of different workflows, so you can utilize this software for other applications than what you just saw, which was kind of centered around invoices and bills of lading and purchase orders. It was just, today we use that as an example. Michael, here's a question for you. Can you speak on the security and the confidentiality levels of records within DocuWare, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we build the DocuWare system for each customer, we really look to see what type of environment they use for authentication for their users. So if they're using some sort of an Active Directory authentication, what we really like to do is build DocuWare around the roles in the system. That way we can actually marry up like groups in Active Directory with a particular role in DocuWare. So when you set permissions to see a particular document within a filing cabinet, and by the way, those permissions can become very granular, meaning that I could look at the accounting filing cabinet, but maybe I'm in customer service and I can only see the checks that we have sent out to particular vendors so that I can answer questions. So again, we can get very granular with the security in the filing cabinet, but like I said, we build everything around roles, so you really have typically one place to manage your users in an Active Directory environment where it can sync the user into DocuWare. But if you're a smaller organization or an organization that doesn't use Active Directory, that's no problem. We can still just use DocuWare to manage the credentials for the user to log in, and then you would enjoy those same nice security benefits, just like every user would receive within DocuWare when it comes to access to particular files.
That's great. And Michael, there are a couple workflow-related questions. Maybe we can get those kind of knocked out. What kind of notification reminders are there, whether they be alerts? There's some people asking about emails or out-of-the-office substitutions.
Yeah, and one of the things, because I did show you guys a condensed version of my presentation today, so if there are folks on the line that would like to see more, absolutely reach out to your Ricoh account representative so that we can set that up. But we can show you a lot more availability in terms of how you route documents around for approval and how those notifications work. Specifically, right, when we send a notification for somebody to approve an invoice, we typically send them an email notification. And I can even use index data from the particular invoice, like the vendor name, the amount, so that when the person sees the notification, they might immediately know whether it's an invoice, hey, I need to answer this right away, or maybe I have a couple hours and I can wait till I'm off the golf course. Just kidding. But we could use our mobile device, right, to approve that right away based on that invoice coming over. And I can literally just click a link, you guys, in that email. It takes me right out to the DocuWare system so that I can approve that invoice instantly.
Great. And there's a couple questions about scalability. Can you process thousands of invoices? The answer is yes. We can route it many different ways depending on your needs. Also, there's another person that's asking about storage limits, and we have a couple different flavors of this. One is cloud-based. The other one is an on-premises-based system. And depending on your needs, you can choose whatever is best for you. Also, there's another question, Mike, about can you view invoices and tasks on your phone?
Absolutely. So one of the applications that we did not get into today was actually called DocuWare Mobile. And that application mimics the DocuWare web client that you saw on Google Chrome today, where I can see my document trays, my lists, my searches, and my tasks. So all of those various functions that I'm doing on my computer, I can also do right there from my mobile device. And that's especially important for your mobile workers. So, if you're processing expense reports, or if I'm going in and just approving an invoice, or maybe it's a HR onboarding process, that's where we can enable you to work from anywhere, again, right there from your mobile device.
Fantastic. We've got a question here. Why should we work with Ricoh? And I can help with that. And in this case, no one can say that they have as rich of a history with DocuWare than Ricoh. I mean, Ricoh is the highest level partner one can achieve with DocuWare, and we have people that have been designing and installing and configuring DocuWare solutions for over 10 years. So that gives us a leg up because we've seen a lot. We've experienced a lot. Basically, we can pass on best practices learned to our prospective clients. And Ricoh uses a methodology framework for our solutions, and that combines industry-leading methodologies from either PMI, ITIL. It's all into one single framework to deliver successful projects during implementation. We have another question here, Mike. Does the system allow for multiple approvals from two different people? Also another question about parallel approvals.
Absolutely. So, in the case where if I had gone back to that invoice and you noticed that I coded that out to Brian Ford, right, under manufacturing, if that had been multiple line items and I needed to take one over to manufacturing, one over to management, one over to human resources, that's not a problem. We can break those out, and then what we call that in DocuWare is a parallel task, so that at the same time as the approver is approving the line item 1, line items 2, 3, 4, 5 can also get approved at the exact same time.
Fantastic. What financial applications or other applications can it integrate with?
Yeah, so as I mentioned right in the demonstration today, we work with over 500 various applications. Those are listed somewhat on our website. If you go to DocuWare.com, you can see those. But really, we do this in a broad sense by using what we call the DocuWare Data Export Tool, which gives us the ability to really export a file from DocuWare that any common accounting system uses to import. And a lot of the accounting systems like QuickBooks, Sage, Microsoft Dynamics, they all have import utilities so that you can literally map the fields from the DocuWare export to the import of the file into your accounting application, and you can just schedule that on a task once or twice a day to import that information. But DocuWare also has a very robust API framework where if you wanted a more dynamic connection into your system, we could also look at a custom coding solution to be able to provide a more dynamic, in-depth solution. But a lot of customers like just using an export of a CSV file and importing it into their application because it keeps them more nimble to move amongst line of business applications and doesn't necessarily lock them down to one. But some larger organizations really like to achieve that dynamic connection, and we certainly make that happen for them.
What about the mobile application? Can someone take pictures on their smartphone and bring it into the system?
Absolutely. We actually have two applications. One is called DocuWare Mobile. Another is actually called PaperScan. And what PaperScan enables you to do, and by the way, this is a free app that you can literally go out to the App Store or Google Play and you can download today and even use it without DocuWare. But it actually allows you to take an image or take a picture of an image. It creates it into a text searchable PDF, and then you can upload it into DocuWare directly from your mobile device. So the long answer is absolutely yes.
Fantastic. How would you set this up to take advantage of early payment discounts?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our clients like to be able to connect their DocuWare system to a master vendor table, right, which is sometimes housed in their accounting software, sometimes it's housed outside their accounting software, and typically this master vendor table tells us lots of things like when the certificate of insurance is going to expire, if the W-9 is on file, and like early payment discounts. It can tell us when we do have something like this set up for a particular vendor, so that way when an invoice comes in and we know that we're going to be able to process that within the given time frame of the early payment discount, the table that we store in that master vendor file can communicate back to DocuWare so we can run an arithmetic expression on the total amount of the invoice and thereby discount based on whatever early payment discount you're going to take advantage of as an organization. You could even have multiple early payment discounts, like if you have a net 5 or a net 10 or a net 30 with organizations, you could keep all of those on file. But great question.
That's good. That's good. We actually have a couple questions about packing slips, and yes, the answer is you can definitely get the packing slip in the system so that it can be matched up to the invoice. And I am getting an alarm right now in the way of it being time to start wrapping up. So that's all the time that we have for today, and thank you, Michael, for joining us, for showing us exactly how business process automation can improve and accelerate how work gets done. It can be at home, in the office, or a combination of both. And for those who joined us, if you're ready to get started with streamlining and simplifying your own business processes, make sure to reach out to your Ricoh representative or visit us at ricoh-usa.com/newworldofwork. Thank you.